Elected, I will not serve.
Good evening. Today is Tuesday, April 16th, 2019. This is the opening of the Hanson Board of Selectmen meeting. This meeting is being televised by Whitman Hanson Cable Access. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, good evening, Hanson. Here are this week's announcements. The Town of Hanson 2019 street listing books are now available for purchase at the town clerk's office for $10. The Hanson Public Library will be holding its third annual Nancy Capolini Family Fun Day on Friday, April 19th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. There will be performance from the Flying High Dogs, refreshments, balloon animals, face painting, and springtime crafts. Please sign up at hansonlibrary.org. Whitman and Hanson Dollars for Scholars will be hosting a meat raffle in support of the Laurie Sawtell Memorial at Lucky Dog Tavern and Grill, located at 242 Mattakesett Street in Pembroke on Sunday, April 28th at 2 p.m. All proceeds from the event will benefit the graduating high school seniors from Whitman Hanson Regional High School who are continuing on to college. For more information on this event or Dollars for Scholars, please contact Mike Ginsher at 781-252-9683 or visit whitmanandhanson.dollarsforscholars.org. Music in the Library featuring Kelsey Gilbert and Paul Doolittle will be held on Friday, April 26th from 7 to 9 p.m. This event is free, which requires pre-registration and will include light refreshments and a cash bar. To register, please go to hansonlibrary.org and sign up under the calendar of events or by calling 781-293-2151. Green Hanson's annual Cleanup Greenup will be held on Saturday, April 27th from 9 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Please meet at the Town Hall at 8:45. Please come prepared with gloves, boots, long sleeves, and pants, and brightly colored clothes. For more information, please visit the Green Hanson on Facebook or by contacting them at greenhanson@gmail.com. The Town of Hanson and the Hanson Business Network are teaming up for a Hanson Day to be held on June 1st from 12 to 4 p.m. at the Town Hall Green. Local churches, businesses, civic organizations, and other groups are intended to be an exhibitor at this event. There will be no cost for participation, and the exhibitors will be provided with a table and chairs if needed, as well as space on the town green. We are asking exhibitors to engage attendees by having demonstration, games, crafts, or any other type of activity. Please note that there will be no items allowed to be sold other than those to benefit the 200th Anniversary Committee of Hanson. If you're interested, please contact Laura Kemet or Josh Singer. Volunteers are needed on the following committees: the 200th Anniversary, Capital Improvement, Cultural Council, Economic Development, Elder Affairs, Finance, Historical Commission, Memorial Day Patriot Observance, Memorial Field Trustees, Recreation, Zoning Board Alternate. Applications for appointment and more information on these committees are available on the town website at hanson-ma.gov. The upcoming meetings, the Finance Committee will be meeting on Wednesday, April 17th, as well as April 18th, both at 7 p.m. School Repair will be meeting on April 18th at 7 p.m. Parks and Fields will be meeting on April 22nd at 7 p.m. McQuon Reuse Committee will be meeting on Wednesday, April 24th at 6 p.m. The TIF Committee will be meeting on Thursday, April 25th at 6 p.m. 200th Anniversary Committee will be meeting also on April 25th at 7 p.m. It will be posted as a Selectmen's meeting as well. On Tuesday, April 30th, Selectmen will be meeting for Town Preview. On Monday, May 6th, we'll see you all at the town meeting at 7 p.m. And just in case we have more business to conduct, that will be held on Tuesday, May 7th at 7 p.m.
Excellent. Thanks, Matt. Okay, we're going to jump around a little bit. The first thing we're going to look at is under new business, finalize and sign the town meeting warrant. So, based on Todd being here the last meeting, I'm comfortable with the budget And if you guys would like to vote to recommend the budget, which is
Article 5.
Article 5 on the annual. Does anybody have any questions?
I think it's important to note, Mr. Chairman, that this budget reflects a 6.5% increase to the Whitman Hanson School District, as has been discussed on a number of different occasions.
That's what our financial team recommended to us. That's what we're gonna go with.
All right, so I, coming back to this and only reading Tracy's article, so that I understand something else is going on, can you explain, I mean, how does this work if the school committee is requesting 12.1%, if town meeting were to vote for 12.1%, if it was approved at town meeting, then what happens?
Then we would have to go to October, and we'd have to request an override in October.
If the 12.1
Yes.
vote passed at
Correct.
this town meeting.
Correct.
Okay, but what we're proposing in our budget
well.
is 6.5, so somebody would have to get up on the floor and amend it, and then that would have to pass.
To a number that we couldn't afford, whatever that might be, and it could be less than 12.5%. But as it stands right now, we can afford 6.5%. I believe that is in concert with what Whitman is trying to get towards.
So, but I don't know if this is where you're going, I was gonna say to Wes's point, I think it is. If Whitman isn't finalized with what, if we just got the 12.1 request from the school district, and I know that we're saying all we can afford is the 6.5, I'm crystal clear on that. But the district has still asked for 12.1. What is going to happen between now and town meeting to get it to the 6.5 or to reach some type of an agreement? Are we premature in moving this budget with the 6.5?
My understanding is the school committee has yet one last meeting prior to town meeting, in which there is a better than not chance that they will revisit the 12.1%. If the Board of Selectmen is uncomfortable at this point, given the fact that that particular action has not taken place yet, the board certainly can wait. We have said on a number of occasions that our proposal is 6.5%.
It's not like we've wavered from this.
Yeah.
We've been crystal clear about
It's
that.
not a matter of us being uncomfortable, it's a matter of what we can afford.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in moving right now, as opposed to moving on this next week or whenever. I think that and I've never experienced such, and I've actually asked Mary as well, and in her time here, she hasn't experienced as much. If the two towns come in with a number that does not equate to what the school committee is requesting, then I believe we go to a super town meeting, when that would be the only issue at that super town meeting.
And I forget, have we had a super town meeting before? Have I ever been to one?
We've had
No.
one before I got here, over 20 years ago.
I think it was supposed to happen, but it didn't. They came to an agreement. I don't think we've ever had one.
Based on the budget?
Not in the
They would-
20-something years that I've been doing it.
Because they did have one, I think it might have been with respect to building the school, one of the schools. The two towns got together for a meeting over in Whitman, I believe.
To build a school,
About the school?
or about that, maybe building the
But
high school, but that wasn't on the
Or
budget.
was this, okay,
Or whatever.
maybe.
I
It
could
just,
be wrong.
yeah, I know that the school committee's been meeting, and I've definitely watched all of their meetings, and I've watched the Whitman Board of Selectmen meeting, all of the various meetings, I feel quite up to date. But it feels weird to me that we're voting on 6.5, and I'm not seeing anybody from the school committee here, or like Jeff Simonek here to talk to us about well, if you go with 6.5, this is what's gonna happen to us. I know he said it at his school committee meeting, but in past years, we've had this representatives from the district and we've had the superintendent come and be quite active in speaking to us about this. And I know they attended the Whitman Selectmen's meeting, I think primarily because of the new building that, the new school that Whitman's proposing, but.
I know that they spoke before our FinCom a week or so ago, but I think because we've been quite clear from the beginning of what we could afford, and that number has not moved, that they know where we stand in terms of what we can
So I'm
afford.
just, having read the article, which is exactly where I'm coming from,
Oh.
because I've been out of town. If at town meeting, the town votes to approve 12.1% increase in the school, can we actually close town meeting
But
at
we're
the
not, but the
end?
town would approve 6.5, because that's what would be in our budget.
No, what Wes is getting at is if somebody comes up and makes a motion and it
Oh,
amends it
Yeah, I mean,
to
it's
something
absolutely
higher.
easy. It is absolutely easy, and I'm not using the word stack in a pejorative sense. It is absolutely easy to stack a meeting.
Mm-hmm.
You could have the biggest contingent we've seen at a town meeting come in, pro-school,
Mm-hmm.
and vote. We will have it, they will amend it. We will
Right, on
vote
the floor,
12.1% on the floor, and it's approved by town meeting. Can town meeting then close at the end of it?
No,
Because
we
we're.
couldn't
we would-
close until we balanced, we'd have to cut to be able to support the 12.1.
And then we would have to go to we'd have to go to an override vote in October.
But what happens, so in the meantime, we would, at that town meeting,
Well, it also depend on whether or not it passed it in Whitman as well.
Yes, it has to be.
It would have to be the exact same.
Like, if we pass 12.1 and Whitman doesn't pass the 12.1, we can't have that discount.
I'm just trying to figure out, see where the meeting is adjourned. If the meeting can't be adjourned until the budget is balanced, do we then, it doesn't matter what Whitman does at that point, we're in our town meeting, do we then return through the budget and just start cutting
Yes.
On
until
the
we're
floor,
balanced?
on the floor.
Yes.
Do that on the floor?
Yep.
Yep. And then we hope that the override, if this goes the way that you're describing it, that if we have an override in October, that it passes so that we can fund all of the things we just slashed.
Then why wouldn't we, I don't know, I mean, why wouldn't we have an override question on this ballot that is something like contingent on, I mean, 12.1% can be amended contingent on passing of an override?
I think
And
it
if the
sends-
override doesn't?
To be quite honest, I think it sends the wrong message.
Okay.
It's 6.5%, that's what we can afford. And I think that opens the door to the sort of discussion, further opens the
yeah.
door to the sort of discussion
I
that
hear what you're saying, and I share a lot of your fears that something could be done on the floor. I hope people would be reasonable and recognize, and I know that this is an issue that people feel passionately about, as well they should, but I hope people would recognize that on the floor really isn't the place to make that big of an increase and really eviscerate all of the hard work that the FinCom and everybody else has done. Could happen. I had asked Mike and Ken about the possibility of having a contingency article, and we've been pretty clear that it's going to be 6.5. Although there was some press that it could go a little bit higher, but 6.5.
But we only have a minute before our hearing here, so we gotta
So-
just pick it up.
Anyway, I think the reason we're all saying this is I don't feel comfortable voting on this until the Eagles landed, and I just don't think the Eagles quite landed yet. I can see it hovering for the target, but I just don't.
I just feel I'm with Laura right now. I'd like,
That's fine. We
I'd
don't
like
have to
to
vote
hear
tonight.
Oh, and that is fine.
Yeah.
You're not gonna get an argument from me. I just, again, we've been been
Let's
consistent.
Mike, let's
for-
table the budget. All right,
That's
I
fine.
want to move on because I got a hearing here. Just briefly here, on the special town meeting, Article 11, the tree warden has cut the trees down to 25,000. Okay, Article 11 on the special town meeting.
Just,
You guys want to vote to recommend that?
I assume he's cutting fewer trees?
Yeah, it's actually fewer days. It's done by days. It's about
Okay.
$5,000
So
a
moved.
day.
Okay, this is to recommend. Motion's made and seconded. All those in favor? 401. Okay. Perfect, it is now 7:15. Next on the agenda is liquor license transfer from AMDC Inc., DBA 711, 12 Monpont Street, to Cabal Hanson LLC, DBA Richdale Market and Liquors.
Is there a space you want me for the microphone?
Yeah, hold on one second, sir, we have to open the hearing, go ahead, Matt.
All right, opening of the hearing. The Board of Selectmen will hold a hearing on Tuesday, April 16th, 2019, at 7:15 PM in the Selectmen's Meeting Room at Hanson Town Hall, 542 Liberty Street, Hanson, on the application for a transfer of license from AMDC Incorporated, doing business as 711 37476A, to Cavanaugh Hanson LLC, doing business as Richdale Market and Liquor of Hanson, Massachusetts, for an all alcohol beverage retail package good store license. Premise to be licensed is located at 12 Monpont Street, described as the following: convenience store with cooler and warmer display, approximately 2,400 square feet of retail space located in the strip center. The space has one main entrance with a rear emergency exit.
I'm looking for a motion to open the hearing.
So moved.
Second. Motion's made and seconded, all those in favor? 5-0. Yes, sir, you're welcome to come up to the podium.
And how do we pronounce that? Is it Cabal? Cavial?
Sir, you can have Cedos, just stand, whatever you guys like.
Sure. My name is Attorney John Meridian, Democus Law Offices. With me is Nikul Patel in the black jacket and Mehul Patel in the checkered shirt. They are two of the principal investors in Cabal Hanson LLC. What we're seeking today is a transfer of the liquor license from AMDC Inc., DBA 711. We're also seeking approval of a pledge of the license to South Shore Bank, as they are financing the transaction, and approval of Nilesh Patel here as manager of record. It's a straightforward deal. They are buying both the business operation and the real estate at that strip mall together in one deal. Nilesh will be the manager of record. He does own a few other stores. He'll be working here to run the store. He is tip certified. He has experience in the alcohol retail sales area. Mehul is the majority interest holder, and he will also be working at the store. Like I said, we're seeking three things: a transfer approval of the license to the new buyers, approval of the pledge to South Shore Bank, and Nilesh here as manager of record. The only real change you'll probably notice in this deal is it's no longer be a 7-Eleven. The DBA will now be Richdale Market and Liquor. So with that, I will take any questions you may have.
So the first question I have is there any issues with any of the other stores as far as complaints regarding alcohol, the ABC?
Nope, they've had no complaints to the ABCC, no complaints with the local towns for underage sales. Nilesh's store at Hyannis is in a very popular area, as you can imagine, in the summertime, and they've had no complaints down there. This is their livelihood. They understand the seriousness of underage sales and violations and the damage it can do to them. So they take it very seriously. They are tip certified. You guys can use a scanner, an ID scanner for alcohol sales to verify IDs.
How do we independently verify that they haven't had any issues?
There's a statement in the, sorry.
No, I'm just,
Through
so
the
we have to,
ABCC will tell you whether they've had any issues.
okay, so how, have we?
Yeah, we have no, I didn't get anything from the ABCC saying that they haven't had any issues. And with respect to the current store that we haven't had any issues with the existing store.
Okay. What is, I heard you, and I hope you don't take that personally at all. It's just we're responsible for
That's
doing what's
fine, I
best for the
understand.
town. I'm thrilled that you're here and that you're gonna be doing business here. I'm wondering, what is the nature of the pledge to our involvement in signing off on a pledge?
So the pledge is essentially security and collateral for the loan South Shore Bank is making to Cabal Hanson LLC. similar to a mortgage on a house. If they default, it gives the bank rights to foreclose on the license and either an auction off to somebody per your approval, or buy it back and sell it to somebody else. It's
And
basically,
that all makes sense to me, but what doesn't make sense to me is our involvement in that. That's what I'm trying to.
right, so the town is the ultimate licensing authority. So any license issuance or suspension or vacation, anything to do with the license has to go through you. So if South Shore Bank came in and said, look, they haven't paid their loan, they've defaulted, we want to auction it, we either find a buyer for it, you need to approve that new buyer.
That makes sense,
Yeah.
okay, and that's essentially what the pledge is,
The pledge,
saying we still retain the right to be the licensing authority and, okay.
And then just a follow-up question.
Good.
What about if whoever purchases that license afterwards is a company that we don't approve of, or they just have bad business dealings?
Mhm.
What happens at that point, in the interest of?
Ultimately, if you don't approve the transfer at that time, then the license probably would revert back to the town, and you could issue it to a new applicant at a new location.
Thank you.
And,
Good, Joe.
Through the chair, my question would be, what about the other business in that location? Because it does say the whole building, it's one building.
Right,
So you got Sandy's Coffee Shop there.
they're gonna stay, there's a vacant, you said there's a
Yeah.
vacant
There's
store.
there's
so we're gonna
vacant in
make it bigger.
between, yeah.
Oh, you're
You're
gonna make the
making
store
yours
bigger.
So-
bigger?
Okay.
Oh,
Okay, so Richdale, when these guys take over, the vacant spot that's in between Sandy's and 7-Eleven,
Yes.
you're gonna go through the wall and make
You're gonna
Richdale
make it
bigger,
bigger.
because my question is, it's one building, I'm worried about Sandy's Coffee Corner that's been there forever. I know you can't tell me, with rent and all that stuff, but I wanna make sure that, it's just a transfer of the license
Right.
with the building, so anything all the writing that's in there is the same, so that they'll still be there.
Yeah,
But you'll own the entire building, right?
Yes. They'll be
Okay.
the new landlord.
And and I share with you, because Sandy's is a local little icon, and, there's not a lot of little mom and pop coffee shops around anymore. And it's been a perilous existence for them there. Every time that ownership turns, they get a little anxious about it. So you originally said how many square feet, for this?
So what it is right now, I think it's about 2,400.
And what will it be with the new?
So they have to come back to apply for a change in premises,
Alteration of premises.
alteration of premises, once they get plans and all that done. And that one we'll know how much bigger it will be.
Can you spitball and
Yeah,
tell
you
us?
can-
I
another-
think so, 1,000 to 1,200, we don't know yet,
Yeah.
because we are not allowed to go in the store and walk around and have my.
Until you own it.
Until we own.
Okay, all right, interesting.
But we'll come back and.
So just keep that in mind, Sandy's, because we all feel the same way. Sandy's has been there forever, and, obviously, we have no control who you rent to, but just keep that in mind and when you're dealing with that business.
I think what I wanted to tell you is that whenever we buy something in any town in Massachusetts or New Hampshire, we work with the town and we work with our tenant, so Sandy's Coffee is not going anywhere.
Oh, good,
Okay.
excellent.
Well, we appreciate you
We do.
saying that.
Do we need to close the hearing and then vote on this,
I
Mary?
just have one other
Any-
question.
And
sorry.
also any questions
Are
from the
there any
general public?
outstanding taxes or anything from 7-Eleven that are owed to us, or any type of issues, unresolved, like Board of Health issues, any kind of violations, or?
I haven't had any issues with respect to the Board of Health or anything like that. I did not check on the real estate, but when the real estate
they'll need an
closes,
MLC.
they'll get a municipal lien
Yeah.
certificate, and anything that's outstanding by 7-Eleven will be squared away at the time of the closing.
Okay.
Does anybody else have any more questions? Does anybody here have any questions? Okay, thank you. Did you say we're closing voting?
Motion to close and then.
Okay.
then
So
you
moved.
vote.
Looking for a motion to close the hearing? Second. Motion's made and seconded. All those in favor? 5-0. Okay, so looking for a motion to,
To approve a transfer of liquor license to Cavell Hanson LLC, DBA, Richdale Market and Liquor of Hanson, and further to approve the pledge of the license and the stock to South Shore Bank.
So moved.
second. Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor? 5-0. Good luck, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have junk dealers license renewal, which one is DMV Industries, which I believe is Tracy White, right?
Correct. Atlantic Recycling.
Atlantic Recycling. So then, how come they renew just at weird times?
Yeah, junk dealers, all our licenses come in at different times, and theirs expire on May,
okay.
junk dealers expire
So
on May
like,
1st.
I'll ask that question that Laura always makes sure that there's no issues with them, taxes, problems?
Nope, I've
anything?
checked with all the various departments. I haven't had issues with either one of the
Okay,
junk dealers. And the other one is First Baptist Church of Hanson thrift store.
okay.
So just,
So I'm looking for a motion to approve these renewals of junk licenses.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded by Mr. Dyer. Any questions?
I have no questions. You took mine, Kenny. I mean, you know.
Oh, it's a good one. That's why I like it. I like to steal your thunder. All those in favor? 5-0. Okay. Okay, now we are gonna go into executive session to conduct strategy sessions in preparations for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the public body and the chair so declares. Dispatch union. We will come back out of executive session to resume our open session. I'm looking for a roll call vote to go in executive session.
looking for a
I'm
motion.
sorry. Motion, thank
So
you.
moved.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded.
Aye.
Aye.
I'm in favor.
Aye.
We are now in executive session. Okay, we are now out of executive session. And the board voted on an interim agreement. No, I got the wrong thing here.
Memorandum of
Memorandum
agreement.
agreement.
Thank you, memorandum agreement with the dispatchers union. And I'll read, employees shall receive a one-time severance payment based on their years of service as a dispatcher with the Hanson Police Department. 4 years or less is $2,500. Less than 6 years, but more than 4 years is $4,000. 6 years or more is $5,000. That's basically the stipend for dispatchers to stay until the end of the transition period over to Duxbury Regional. Okay. Next, we have under new business, under old business, discussion and possible vote on 911 regional dispatch. So we started this process probably over a year ago. And I think this board and all the departments, the chiefs have done their due diligence to look at making a change in our dispatch. Our dispatchers are great, they do a great job. It's just sometimes they get multiple calls and only one person can handle so many calls at one time. So we looked at the possibility of going over to the ROC. The ROC, for those of you who don't know, is, it's Duxbury Regional, what does it stand for? Regional Old Colony Dispatch, that's what it is.
Old Colony
Yeah,
Communications Center.
Regional Old Colony Dispatch Center. So we looked at their operation over there. Everybody on the board looked at it. There was a couple concerns that believe that we can overcome, and we can. But at the end of the day, we truly believe this is a better decision for the residents, the best decision for the residents, and a public safety decision. So the dispatchers union kindly agreed that they would stay and hang on until the transition, if this board was to vote that we do go over to Duxbury Regional. It would be quite a transition. There's a number of things that would have to happen between now and then. Then is July 1st, 2020 is when we're thinking that the transition will be 100% complete. But they have a few things that are set up along the way. Like for example, they're gonna set up an app, and they'll have things that have to be done over the period, and the chiefs, the fire chief, police chiefs, Duxbury Regional Director, one of the lieutenants in Hanson, myself, Mike, would all be involved, so these tasks, there would be a list of tasks that have to be completed between now and the transition period. And as the tasks are completed, then it would get checked off so everybody can see. So there's a number of things that, like I said, that have to be done. Very happy with what I've seen so far, and we have the contract in front of us. The cost to go over to the Rock is $400,000. We've got a grant, or we're gonna be getting a grant from the state 911 of $200,000, which is extremely generous because there's other communities that don't get as much. Mike wrote a nice letter requesting these additional funds so we can, obviously be able to afford it. We're a small town and we don't wanna go dark and, several different things. So Mike and I attended a meeting at the state 911 about 6 weeks ago with both fire chiefs, both deputy fire chief, lieutenant, and Frank over there, who is the director of 911. Also, we had the Duxbury guys there, Chief Nord, Mike Mahoney, which is the Rock director, and also Captain Rob Reardon, who, he's the one that was in here that you could just see his heart, was right on this thing since the beginning. So we all went over for a meeting, and we basically had to go in there and fight for the additional money that we were looking for. And then Mike wrote the letter. They said, yeah, you tell us why you need the money, and we'll consider it. Mike wrote the letter, and then they came back to us 2 weeks later and said, yes, we would be willing to give you the money if the town of Hanson was willing to make the transition over to the Rock. So what I would like is this board here to vote tonight on this contract. We were waiting for the dollar amount, which we have. This is a standard agreement amongst municipalities, the other ones that they have, which is, they currently have Duxbury, Halifax, Rochester, and Plimpton. Everyone's under the same contract. And does anybody have any questions?
Mr. Chair, when we went and toured the facility, I thought the chief over there and the director said that we wouldn't have to worry about licensing or anything like that for software, that we wouldn't have to worry about maintaining our radios here in Hanson, that they were all going to take care of it. But on page 6 of this contract, it says Duxbury will not be responsible for maintaining any service or support agreement that Hanson may have for its own radio computer equipment. Hanson will continue to be responsible for funding its own service and support agreements along with any licensing fees. So I feel, I just would like some clarification. Are we gonna have to purchase these licenses every year, or is it Rock?
The license, I don't know, but the radios they're referring to is the radios, taking the police cruisers and the portable radios.
All right, 'cause
Not the main communication
All right.
center. The licenses, I think they would normally, Mary might know better what the licenses, because you did communication, didn't you? I'm not sure about the licenses.
I don't know about the licenses, we'd have
Yeah.
to check with Ryan on that.
Yeah, but I know the radios they're referring to, the Rock is not gonna come in and pay for new radios for, the guys to wear portable radios and police
right,
cruisers.
I understand like that
That's
capital.
what that's referring to.
I agree with that, but the software piece, what software would we need? If they're gonna be the ones operating the software to our guys, who, and I remember distinctly that they said our guys were gonna get hooked into their dispatch by having little laptops in their cars.
They
And
already
that was
have
all
those.
supposed to be covered by them, not us.
Well, no, that's not true. We have, our police cruisers already have laptops.
But are
in
they
it. Duxbury's
compatible
not
with what
gonna.
they're using?
Yeah.
Right, well,
I
Mr.
believe the situation is that they're not going to take over responsibility for funding anything we have right now, any of the agreements we currently have that we've made. Anything going forward that has to do with the regional dispatch, which has to do with the integration, they will cover. But anything that we're holding right now, any agreements we've made with any vendors, any licensing fees, that's still on us.
But
And
that's
then-
not what that language says, though.
That's the way I read it.
That's where all the other ones
That's my
are.
understanding.
And there's that
It's only
50,000
service
Mike
and
too.
support agreements with any licensing fees,
There's a-
which means the ones that we have in place right
There's
now.
another 50,000 that they would be spending for the equipment move, that 911, that's normal when they take on a new town. There's certain things that 911 pays for that, in the internal thing, that's about $50,000 that they would pay for too.
Which they've been paying all along anyway. Well, and I respect the questions that the board has, or some members of the board have, in terms of perhaps this being a little too loose. So if the board is so inclined, I would say vote the contract pursuant to clarification of this particular item.
Sure. And then,
With the understanding that it is our understanding that everything going forward is, and I believe this is the case, everything going forward is being funded through the $400,000 that we're giving to them, nothing above and beyond that.
What's your other question, Matt?
well, a couple.
Okay.
Sorry. So one thing that I did ask for a couple of times with both the chief and the director here is I wanted to see hard math. I wanted to see figures on the paper saying this is how much it's going to cost us to maintain the operations here in Hanson. This is how much it's going to cost for bringing on extra dispatchers to hopefully get us to the point where we feel comfortable. And then I also wanted to see the cost for how much is it going to cost to make sure the station doesn't go dark, as well as paying into regional dispatch. I haven't seen those
We
numbers.
both asked for that, and we were told that they couldn't give us the numbers till they applied to the state and heard back from the state what the state was gonna give them, and then they'd plug that number in, and then they'd give us the numbers.
That's the 200,000.
No, yes, that's that number, but now that they've got it, we need the information we asked them for, which was a budget layout of exactly what's it gonna cost. We asked the chief, and what was it
what
gonna
you're
cost to not go dark, because we all, I think conceptually, I don't know if we actually took a vote, but we conceptually talked about the fact that we did not want the station to go dark. So we need to know how much that's gonna cost, because, yeah, it looks great that we're getting 200,000, and it looks great that we're paying out 400, so really net 200,000, but the devil's in the details in terms of how much is it gonna cost not to keep that station dark? Who's it gonna be staffed with? How often is it gonna be staffed? And then the other thing that I have is, I specifically asked that in this agreement that there be a stipulation that as soon as they can, we have an equal seat at that damn table to be voting, and I don't see anything in here that says that. This is acting like forever and a day, we're gonna be under Duxbury's, domain, and I am not okay with
Duxbury's
that.
already started construction on the new facility.
I'm not talking about the facility, I'm talking about the
Regional,
regionalization, where we have an equal say and an equal vote.
A district.
Yes. And I've mentioned it every single time I've talked to them, that it's a
Yes.
concern for me, and it's not gonna go away.
Yes.
I don't know if that's something they're gonna put in.
They can certainly put in here that they're going to work towards a district, and they can make a representation. Without it, we're entering into an agreement where we're saying, we're okay with this arrangement. We don't have anything. We've got nothing to hang our hat on with this agreement that says, no, you guys agreed that you would work towards us having an equal say at the table. I don't agree with us abdicating all of our control over to Duxbury forever and a day. I get that we've got to do it now because they don't have it in place, and I'm okay with it if I know it's temporary, but the way that this is structured, that's not the way it reads.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I had also said, just to follow up with Laura, that I said that I will never let the station go dark. I actually said that, so I do need to see figures. One of the things that bothered me about it was that on page 6, right under what Matt was talking about on letter E, if anything ever happens, Hanson is responsible for the total of $400,000. Now, earlier, it does say in the contract that we can get out of it with a written notice after 90 days, or within 90 days, and pay a retro fee. But if anything happens with that $200,000 in the following 2 years, Hanson's on the hook for $400,000.
Well, that was another weird thing, Jim, is if you read it, it acts like we don't know, and it may be at the time we didn't know how much we were gonna get from the state. But it's saying it's all stipulated on how much we're gonna get from the state. And maybe it means prospectively, we just don't know year to year how much we're gonna get, and we need to understand we're on the hook for 400,000. That's fine, but at least the first year, we know we're getting 200,000. And I also did question that 90 days, like 90 days, honestly, they could kick us to the curb in 90 days and would have to figure out dispatch in 90 days. I mean, this is not my area of expertise, but that seems like a very steep hill to climb.
I know the funding with their current communities hasn't changed since they've gone on board.
Well, that can all change though, too, in the sense that when more and more communities get on board with regional dispatching, the pot is only so big. And as we've seen with regionalization of the schools, oh yeah, we're gonna take care of you. But now, as you see, here we are talking about the school budget, and it's primarily because the state's not.
Anything can change.
And I agree with
But
that.
that's-
That's been one of my trepidations with the regionalization, is you're right, as more people get on board, the bucket gets diluted, there's more people trying to get money for it. But I've balanced that with what I think is the benefits and the likelihood and the length of time that we might have to, pivot. But let's face facts. Once we go down this primrose path, it's going to be very difficult to decouple from this arrangement, financially and every other way. So 90 days, I'm like, what, 90 days, really? And you're right, I agree. So I don't know how we respond to this contract, how we can get responses to these concerns with the current contract that we have before us.
And this is a 3-year contract too, not a 1 year.
Mr. Chair, I'd motion that we hold up, we table this contract to sign.
We don't have to motion it. We can, if the board's
right.
not comfortable, we don't have to vote on it.
Right, I mean, just getting this on a short period of time, with these questions about licensing software, Laura's concerns, and I agree with Laura, absolutely. Where does it say that we're gonna have an equal share, in the discussion at the round table? So I think we should just kind of hold off until that we get those figures as well that I was asking for the situations A, B, and C. I think these are really important things to consider just before signing blindly on
All
the
right,
line.
just so I'm clear,
Write them down, Mike.
that's what I want to ask.
So what I would like to see would be, all right, we signed the contract, now we all agree that the station shall not go dark. I want to know how much is that gonna really cost us on top of what we're gonna be putting into rock. The other thing that I would like to see is, all right, how much is it gonna cost us? Oh, sorry.
And I think also, Matt, although it's nominal, we did just agree to approve the stipends. That needs to be factored in. Like, we need a comprehensive, holistic view, because although we're not doing this because of cost savings, that was part of the sales pitch. And so I think we need.
Saving money was never any of the.
That was part of what their sales pitch was. It wasn't what drove why we were doing it. But they were, oh, you're going to save money. So we just need to know, apples to apples, what are we going to be paying? So we know, okay, we're getting a much better service for the same money. That's fine. But we can't even say that right now.
All right, second question.
So then the second question would be, after, how much is it gonna cost to bring in officers to make sure that the station is covered?
Is it going to be officers? Do we really know
Or
that?
clerks,
Yeah,
or,
yeah.
or personnel, I should say. How much is it going, other than that, the next question would be, how much is it gonna cost us if we decide to try to cover those, what was the terminology that they used for those shifts, impact shifts? How much more would it cost the town to keep it in-house to cover the impact shifts?
Well, that, in all honesty, would probably be a double-edged, I don't want to say double-edged sword, that doesn't sound right, because you're going to get conflicting opinions from the two chiefs. So you're not really going to be able to do that sort of comparison, or you're not going to get, I don't want to say you're not going to get a straight answer.
Why would we go to
but
both chiefs? Wouldn't we be looking to mix? He's the one who runs dispatch, right? And it would be his guys that would be manning it, I presume.
It would be
This
his,
is different than having the police officers. What Matt's asking about is if we don't go to regional dispatch.
stay.
And
Oh.
the chiefs wanted to have dispatchers in during impact times.
Okay.
and there is, I believe there's a disagreement between the two chiefs as to the right approach for that. So you'll get two different, I'm assuming you're going to get two different answers, and I think those have probably already been advanced, but I can get those again.
All right, great. I mean, I just want to see the hard numbers, just so I can sit at the table saying, yes, this is the best, especially with these questions about licensing software, what Jim raised to, I just want to make sure we have all the facts and figures on the table before we make this, this motion. And I understand that the dispatchers are I don't want to draw the show out any further than it has to go. But I just wanted to make sure that we have all the facts and figures.
Okay, and I think the last thing was
Is the
some sort of
90
assurance of the
days
district.
negotiable? Because that just seems crazy to me. I mean, you can barely even fire a daycare person on 90 days' notice, and we're gonna do dispatch in 90, I mean, that's like ludicrous.
And some sort of
And then
assurance of
the-
moving
and
to a
then the-
district,
Yeah, the district, which they,
which was said on
I'm
a number
starting
of
to get
occasions.
irritated about, because I've literally asked
No,
like
I remember all
10
that.
times or so. And it just makes me get super paranoid that they're intentionally not putting this in the agreement, even though they're telling me that they're gonna work towards that. So I'd just like something stipulated in here. It is our goal, it could be just something very basic, we're going to work towards a district within the next 3 years, just something like that.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
Is that it? Yeah, so we'll just table it until we get those answers.
I mean, we'll wait. Once we get the answers, then we'll figure it out. Okay, next we have town administrator's report. Probably don't have that much stuff, right? We just met the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, I honestly don't. Most of the last couple of days have been embroiled in, last minute budgeting
JJ's still on
conversations.
track?
What's that?
JJ still on track?
Yeah, they were out there to do it today, but it was too windy. They didn't want to mess the stuff up with the wind blowing. So I spoke with the gentleman actually just before I came in here, because I had driven by and not seen any action, and he said they were there, but it was too windy, so I
I'm gonna have a ribbon cutting ceremony on the anniversary date, so it needs to all be
can't
clean.
cameras and. But the one thing I will mention is after town meeting, we are setting up a joint meeting between the planning board and this board to finally chop on the housing production plan to the degree that those two boards need to go through that particular procedure, and then we'll move forward with that, so.
Okay. Next, we have approved minutes for April 9th, 2019, regular and executive.
No, I don't have I didn't give you guys the regular yet, so we just do the executive session. You've seen
Okay.
it?
I move to approve and withhold the minutes.
Second.
Nicely done.
Everybody guys get a chance to look at them? Motion's made and seconded. All those in favor? 5-0. Thank you. All right, next we have one-day liquor license. We're not gonna read these anymore, because I told you guys why the last time. So I'm looking for a motion to approve all three of these liquor licenses for Kent Colony.
So moved, but I could have sworn that the Harbor PTO we had already approved.
We approved, they wanted
Discount.
a waiver of fees.
Oh, okay.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor? 5-0. Thank you. Committee reports. Laura, 200th anniversary.
We are cooking with gas, thanks to the lovely and talented Audrey Flanagan. She set up an online store for us.
I saw that on Facebook
And
the
yeah, it
other day.
looks pretty awesome. We're getting some pretty good feedback. Lots of swag out there. People want to get their Hanson 200 swag on. That's the place to do it. Hats, all those tchotchkes, coffee mugs, t-shirts, all that good stuff. So we've got that going on, and then simultaneously, Audrey is working hard to get us a banner and a tablecloth for Hanson Day, so that we've got a presence there. And we are planning on having some information about the upcoming events, fundraisers, and then events during 2020 that people can attend. And we'll be selling some items at Hanson Day, and we'll also be having a pop-up store, if you will, at various events as they become available. So that's where we're at. We're meeting, I think, next week. Again, we had a meeting just to kind of approve all of those things. But I would strongly suggest people look
the
it up.
store and
Yeah,
buy
go to
some
our Hanson
200th anniversary
200th page on Facebook, and then you'll see that Amanda Hawk had put out the link to Cafe Press where Audrey set up our store. So thank you to Audrey Flanagan.
Good. Final Plymouth County, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, Mr. Chair, only to jump on Laura's back with the 200th. We have and I wasn't sure if Matt and Wes we're going, but we have a subcommittee of that committee for the parade, which we're meeting tomorrow night, so I wasn't sure, because only 2 of us can be there. So,
No,
be
well, 3
absent.
years can be there, you just can't deliver.
Just post, you gotta post it.
okay,
So
well,
just-
Matt's
I don't
not
have
gonna
time
be
to
there.
post for
Well, just
tomorrow.
let Mary
Yeah.
know in advance, but for tomorrow night,
Matt's not going.
okay.
Yeah,
So we'll be-
I'll excuse myself.
Either
Yeah,
that or
we'll-
you gotta duct tape.
We'll be
Yeah.
fine.
No deliberation.
That'll be-
Take Matt, I
that'd be tough.
doubt it. We're gonna have styrofoam cups and plastic bags
You
all
noticed I
over
was
the
looking
place.
at Matt when I said the duct tape. I was not looking at Jim because I knew which one had highlighted.
Final
got
Plymouth
it.
County Hospital Reuse Committee.
We haven't met since, but just to kind of follow up on the plastic bags, Arlene Diaz and I met today just to kind of start going through the actual wording of the potential bylaw coming down the road. And we're going to start, meeting more often to get through it and go from there.
So you'll be ready for October.
Yep.
I'm sorry, but did you notice that on, what is it? I think the 22nd, Halifax, who's also contemplating a ban, has showing some movies at their library. So if people are interested, they could look on the Green Hanson Facebook page, and I think there was some information
Oh,
out
good to
there
know.
about that. Yeah.
Okay, Macquon School Reuse Committee.
Really nothing to report since last week. Other than we did meet, Mike's giving me the eyebrow, so apparently there is.
No,
something.
there isn't. I just wanted to, I was just gonna follow up to say that going forward, the agreement with, and you caught the eyebrows? We have an agreement with Keller Williams that we'll be meeting every 2 weeks so
Yes.
that we get
Yeah.
constant updates and constant feedback. We have agreed that it may not necessitate a meeting if there's nothing to update, but they will at least be touching base with me, and I'll make the determination as to whether or not we all have to
Yeah,
come
we
together.
just wanted a
and
little
meet.
ongoing accountability.
It's something that's actually in the contract
Yep.
that holds them, at least getting in touch with us
So
every
we
2
did have a
weeks.
pretty good meeting last week, where we kind of finalized all the stuff we've already talked about, but that, we want to lease that property, we want the most for the town in terms of whoever we potentially would enter into a lease with, doing a park or walking paths or a community center or a senior center or all of those, the above. We told them that we'd try to be open-minded about what RFPs they might get from people that potentially want to lease. We didn't want to really paint ourselves into a corner, but that whatever people proposed would need to be something that was appropriate for the location and the size of that property. So we're not looking for a 10-story proposal with, like massive amounts of people crammed into very small spaces. That's just not
Do
gonna
they
be
seem hopeful
appropriate.
or no?
They actually did seem pretty hopeful.
Yeah.
Did they?
Yeah, they said they already had it earlier in the day. They had a conversation with somebody that they thought, was kicking the tires and interested. And now that they've got a little more direction, they're really going to get out there and hustle it. So, look, we certainly can't do that. We need somebody to do it for us. These guys know what they're doing. They've got all kinds of connections. If nothing comes out of it, then we're no worse for the wear other than losing
Right,
a
but
little
I
bit
think we
of time
started
on
this
it.
process at the right time.
Yeah.
Right after we close it.
Yeah.
You guys have been doing your due diligence,
Yeah.
so.
And, as we've said all along, there's a question on the town meeting warrant to give us the authorization, if and when we want to act on it, to borrow the money to demolish the building. So we've kept that moving forward as well, so that we keep both options in
Yeah,
play and we lose as
we
little
didn't
time as
want to
possible.
have that be the foregone conclusion. We wanted to really be able to say honestly, and I know people have been impatient, and I've seen some social media posts about it, and I appreciate people's opinions. But a lot of times it's a little bit more complicated behind the scenes than it might appear. And so what we really wanted to be able to say, and I think you guys would join me in saying this, is we've done our due diligence. We've thought about trying to sell it. We tried to get it out there and do an RFP. We've tried to lease it, and hopefully that will something will happen with that. We've looked at reuse. We've looked at, all of that stuff. And at the end of the day, we're gonna have to demolish. If that's what we have to say, I wanna be able to say straight face to town
But
meeting.
that's better than
we've
waiting
done
5 or
everything.
10 years and then coming up with that and say we gotta demolish it and then spend $1.5
I
million.
know, but I know people are impatient because it's been a year and blah, 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 and I get that, I really do recognize that, but these things take time, there's a process with the RFPs, you've got lead times and
Yeah.
notifications that have to go out, so we are really being diligent about it, and like Mike said, we're kind of trying to hedge our bets by, we've got the article, so if worst case scenario happens, then McQuon will get torn down, and then we'll figure out afterwards what we're gonna do.
And I wouldn't want to see us run into a situation similar to the hospital where it sat for so long.
Yeah.
And my big concern is, it's not so much the cost of additional insurance or whatever electricity or such we need to run in there. It's the liability of, a great big vacant building and the strong possibility, they call that an attractive nuisance, of somebody getting in there and getting hurt and the town being responsible, regardless of no trespass signs, regardless of boarding things up. It's still, we're still exposed. So the sooner we either get an agreement to redevelop that particular piece of property, or we take it down, we need to move forward to lessen that exposure.
That being said, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Anybody got any questions or any added thoughts? All those in favor? 5-0. Good night. Thank you.